What happens when one of television's most beloved morning hosts comes face to face with royalty gone rogue? In just 36 seconds, a single comment would turn a friendly chat into the most explosive morning television meltdown anyone had ever witnessed. The studio lights were bright that morning. Lorraine Kelly sat in her usual chair, the one she had occupied for thousands of interviews over her decades-long career. Her smile was warm and genuine as always. She had welcomed everyone from Hollywood legends to political figures, always with that signature kindness that made her a household name across Britain. But today would be different. Meghan Markle walked onto the set with an air of confidence that immediately filled the room. The audience applauded politely as she settled into the guest chair across from Lorraine. The cameras rolled. This was supposed to be a simple interview, a chance to discuss her latest projects and perhaps share some insights into her life after. Stepping back from royal duties, Lorraine began with her trademark warmth. "Welcome, welcome. It's lovely to have you here this morning. How are you doing?" Meghan's smile seemed practiced, almost mechanical. "I'm doing well, Lorraine. Thank you for having me." "Of course. Now, I know our viewers are excited to hear from you. You've been quite busy lately, haven't you?" There was a pause. Meghan shifted in her seat, and something in her expression changed. "Busy? Well, I suppose that's one way to put it, though I'm not sure busy quite captures the magnitude of what I've been dealing with." Lorraine maintained her pleasant demeanor. "Oh? Would you like to share what you mean by that?" "What I mean, Lorraine, is that some of us are actually changing the world while others simply talk about it on morning television." The air in the studio seemed to freeze. The crew members exchanged quick glances. Lorraine's smile remained, but her eyes showed a flicker of surprise. This was not the direction she had expected the conversation to take. "Well," Lorraine said carefully, keeping her composure, "I think morning television serves an important purpose. It connects people, informs them, brings a bit of joy to their day." Meghan leaned forward slightly. "Does it, though? Or does it just perpetuate the same tired narratives, the same superficial conversations that keep people from thinking about what really matters?" The audience sat in stunned silence. This was not the polite celebrity chat they had anticipated. Lorraine, to her credit, remained professional. She had handled difficult guests before, but this was escalating quickly. "I respect your perspective," Lorraine said evenly. "But I'm curious what brings you to morning television today if you feel that way about it. Because sometimes you have to go where the people are, even if the platform is beneath you." Beneath you. Those two words hung in the air like smoke. Members of the audience gasped audibly. Lorraine's producer stood up in the control room, watching the monitors with growing concern. This interview was going off the rails, and fast. Lorraine took a breath. Her decades of experience were being put to the test. "I see. Well, since you're here with us, perhaps we could talk about your charitable work?" "I know that's something you're passionate about." Meghan waved her hand dismissively. "Charitable work. Everyone wants to talk about charitable work. As if writing a check or showing up for a photo opportunity actually changes anything." "I wasn't suggesting it was just photo opportunities," Lorraine said, her voice still calm but with a subtle edge now. "I was genuinely interested in the causes you care about. The causes I care about are far too complex for a morning chat show segment between cooking demonstrations and weather reports." That was it. That was the moment. Lorraine Kelly, the woman who had remained gracious through thousands of interviews, who had treated every guest with dignity and respect, regardless of who they were, felt something shift inside her. But she did not lash out. She did not lose her temper. Instead, she did what she had always done best. She spoke with honesty and integrity. "You know what, Meghan? I've been doing this job for a very long time. I've interviewed presidents and prime ministers, Oscar winners and Olympic athletes, people from every walk of life you can imagine. And do you know what the best guests have in common?" Meghan's expression showed irritation. "I'm sure you're going to tell me. They understand that respect goes both ways. They recognize that connecting with regular people, the ones who wake up early to watch our show before they go to work or take care of their families, is not beneath anyone. It's an honor." "Is this a lecture?" Meghan asked, her voice rising slightly. "No, it's an observation. You came on this show today, and you've done nothing but insult what we do here and insult our viewers by extension. These are good people who deserve better than to be talked down to." Meghan stood up abruptly. "I don't have to sit here and be criticized. And I don't have to give you a platform to be disrespectful," Lorraine replied, standing as well. Her voice remained steady, but there was steel in it now. "This is my show. These are my crew members who work incredibly hard every single day. These are my viewers who have been loyal for years. And I will not have anyone, I don't care who they are or what title they once held, come here and treat any of us like we're less than." The studio was absolutely silent except for the hum of the cameras. Meghan's face flushed with anger. "You have no idea what I've been through. The scrutiny, the pressure, the constant judgment." "You're right," Lorraine said. "I don't know exactly what you've been through, but I do know that going through difficult times doesn't give anyone the right to be unkind to others who are simply trying to do their job." "This is unbelievable," Meghan said, her voice getting louder. "Do you know who I am?" And there it was, the question that revealed everything. Lorraine looked at her guest with something like sadness in her eyes. "Yes, I know who you are. But the real question is, do you? Because the person standing in front of me right now isn't someone I recognize as the compassionate advocate you claim to be." Meghan's hands clenched at her sides. "How dare you? How dare you question my character on your little morning show?" "Little morning show," Lorraine repeated quietly. "You keep saying things like that. You keep putting us down. Why? What have we done to you except invite you here and try to have a respectful conversation?" "Respectful? You're attacking me. I'm responding to your behavior. There's a difference." The audience members looked at each other, some nodding in agreement with Lorraine. They had witnessed the entire exchange. They had heard every condescending comment, every dismissive remark, and they had watched Lorraine handle it with remarkable grace until she simply could not let it continue. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. "I'm leaving. That's probably for the best," Lorraine said. "But before you go, I want to say one more thing. I don't want to hear it. I think you need to. Being famous, being connected to royalty, having a platform, those things are privileges. They're not weapons to use against people you consider beneath you. And they're certainly not shields to hide behind when someone calls you out for being rude." Meghan's eyes flashed with fury. "You're just jealous. You're a morning show host who will never be anything more than that, and you can't stand that someone like me would even agree to come on your show." The crew members stirred uncomfortably. This was crossing lines that should never be crossed, but Lorraine did not flinch. "I love what I do," she said simply. "I love connecting with people. I love making them smile, informing them, sometimes making them think. I'm proud of this show and everyone who works on it. If you think that's something to look down on, then I genuinely feel sorry for you." "Don't you dare feel sorry for me," Meghan snapped. "But I do. Because you've forgotten something important. You've forgotten that being kind costs nothing. That treating people with basic decency regardless of their job or status is what separates good people from everyone else." Meghan took a step toward the exit, then turned back. "You know what your problem is, Lorraine? You're small-minded. You're content with your small life and your small show and your small ambitions. If caring about people is small-minded, then I'll happily accept that description," Lorraine responded. "But I think you're confusing humility with smallness. They're not the same thing." "I've had enough of this," Meghan declared. "I'm done. Tell your producers they can forget about ever having me back." Lorraine almost smiled at that. Almost. "I don't think that's going to be a problem." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means that this show is built on respect. Mutual respect between me and my guests, between us and our viewers, and you've shown today that you're not interested in that. So yes, I think it's best if this is goodbye." "Are you kicking me off?" Meghan asked incredulously. "I'm saying that this interview is over. You're free to leave." "This is outrageous. No one treats me this way." Lorraine's expression softened slightly, but her resolve did not waver. "Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe if someone had treated you with honest feedback before now, we wouldn't be in this situation." Meghan looked around the studio as if expecting someone to come to her defense. The crew remained still. The audience watched quietly. No one was rushing to support her because everyone had witnessed the same thing. A guest who had arrived with an attitude of superiority and had spent the entire interview demonstrating it. "You'll regret this," Meghan said, her voice low and threatening. "I don't think I will," Lorraine replied calmly. "I'll regret that it came to this, certainly. I always hope for the best from my guests. But I won't regret standing up for my team and my viewers." "Your team?" Meghan scoffed. "These people?" She gestured vaguely at the crew members, and that was the final straw. Lorraine's voice, which had remained measured throughout, took on a harder edge. Yes, these people. Sarah over there has been with this show for 15 years. Michael has been running cameras for 20. Jenny in the control room is one of the best producers in the business. They show up every day, they work hard, they treat everyone with kindness. They're good people, and I will not stand here and let you dismiss them like they're nothing. The crew members looked at Lorraine with obvious appreciation. Some had tears in their eyes. In that moment, she was not just their host, she was their champion. Meghan's face contorted with anger. This is why I left royal life. This constant need to perform, to pretend, to act like everyone's equal when clearly they're not. The audience gasped again. It was one thing to be rude to the host. It was another to express such blatant elitism. I think you should go now, Lorraine said firmly. This conversation is over. With pleasure, Meghan snapped. I wouldn't want to waste another second in this mediocre studio with these mediocre people. She turned on her heel and strode toward the exit. But Lorraine was not quite finished. Meghan, she called out. Meghan stopped but did not turn around. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you find peace and happiness. But you won't find it by putting others down. You won't find it by treating people like they're less than you. Real fulfillment comes from lifting people up, not standing on top of them. For a moment, just a moment, Meghan's shoulders seemed to sag slightly. But then she straightened, pushed open the studio door, and walked out without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft click that somehow sounded louder than any of the shouting had been. The studio remained silent for several long seconds. Lorraine stood where she was, taking a deep breath. Then, slowly at first, someone in the audience began to clap. Then another, then another. Within seconds, the entire audience was on their feet, applauding. The crew joined in. The sound filled the studio, a wave of support and appreciation for a host who had handled an impossible situation with grace and strength. Lorraine looked out at the audience, her eyes glistening slightly. She raised a hand in acknowledgement, then turned to the camera. Well, she said, and her voice was a bit shaky but still warm. That was unexpected. I'm sorry you all had to witness that. It's not how I like to conduct interviews. She paused, collecting herself. But I meant what I said, every word of it. This show exists because of you, our viewers. You invite us into your homes every morning. You trust us to bring you information and entertainment, and maybe a few laughs. And we take that trust seriously. We take you seriously. You matter. Every single one of you matters. The applause continued. Lorraine smiled, that genuine smile that had made her beloved by millions. We're going to take a quick break, she said. And when we come back, we're going to continue with our planned programming, because that's what we do here. We keep going. We keep showing up. We keep treating people with kindness and respect. And we never, ever forget who we're here for. The camera operators pulled back for the wide shot as the show cut to commercial. But in the studio, the atmosphere was electric. The crew surrounded Lorraine, offering hugs and words of support. The audience members talked excitedly among themselves, processing what they had just witnessed. Sarah, the crew member Lorraine had mentioned by name, approached with tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she said simply. Thank you for standing up for us. Lorraine hugged her tightly. Always, she said, every single time. Michael, the camera operator, nodded his agreement. 20 years I've been in this business, and I've never seen anyone handle a situation like that with such class. I just spoke the truth, Lorraine said. That's all any of us can do. Jenny came down from the control room, shaking her head in amazement. The switchboard is lighting up, she said. People are calling in to say how much they appreciated what you said, how you stood your ground. Lorraine nodded slowly. I didn't want it to come to that. I really didn't. But sometimes you have to draw a line. You drew it in exactly the right place, Jenny assured her. As the commercial break continued, Lorraine sat back down in her chair. She smoothed her skirt, checked her appearance in the monitor, and took another deep breath. In a few moments, they would be back on air. The show would continue. Life would go on. But something had shifted, not just in the studio, but in the broader conversation about respect and dignity and how people treat one another. One morning show host had simply refused to accept unacceptable behavior, and in doing so, had reminded everyone watching that kindness matters, that respect matters, that every person has value regardless of their job or status. The floor manager counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The cameras came back to life. Lorraine looked into the lens, and her smile was real and warm and completely genuine. "Welcome back," she said. "Now, I believe we have a wonderful chef joining us next, who's going to show us how to make the perfect autumn soup. Doesn't that sound lovely?" And just like that, the show continued, because that's what Lorraine Kelly did. She showed up. She did her job. She treated people with respect, and when necessary, she stood her ground. The incident would be talked about for days, weeks, months to come. People would debate it, analyze it, share their opinions about who was right and who was wrong. But for those who were in the studio that day, for those who witnessed it firsthand, there was no debate. They had seen a masterclass in grace under pressure. They had seen what it looks like when someone refuses to compromise their values, even in the face of intimidation and insults. They had seen Lorraine Kelly at her absolute best. One audience member would later describe the experience. "You could feel the tension in the room. It was palpable, but Lorraine never lost her cool. She never stooped to the level of rudeness she was being shown. She simply spoke the truth with firmness and compassion. It was extraordinary." A crew member would add, "We all knew Lorraine was special. That's why we love working with her. But that day, she showed us exactly why she's been successful for so long. She has integrity, she has backbone, and she genuinely cares about people, all people, not just the famous ones." The chef who came on after the dramatic exit would later say, "I was backstage when it all happened. I could hear everything through the monitors. I was nervous about following that, but Lorraine made me feel completely at ease. She focused entirely on our segment, gave it her full attention, made it fun and engaging. That's professionalism." As the show wrapped up that day, Lorraine addressed the audience one final time. "Thank you all for being here today," she said, "and thank you to everyone watching at home. Days like this remind me why I love what I do. It's not about the drama or the conflict. It's about connection. It's about community. It's about showing up for each other with kindness and respect." She paused, her eyes scanning the studio. "We'll see you tomorrow morning. Same time, same place. And I promise, hopefully a bit less excitement." The audience laughed, and the show ended on a note of warmth and humor, which was exactly how Lorraine wanted it. But the moment itself, those 36 seconds, when everything changed, when a simple comment revealed the vast difference between two people's worldviews, that would not be forgotten. It would become a touchstone, a reference point for discussions about celebrity, entitlement, and the importance of treating everyone with basic human decency. Lorraine Kelly had not sought confrontation. She had not wanted drama. She had simply wanted to conduct a respectful interview. But when respect was not offered in return, when her team and her viewers were disparaged, she had done what any good leader would do. She had stood up. She had spoken truth. She had drawn a line. And in doing so, she had reminded everyone watching that morning shows are not small or insignificant. They are connection points. They are moments of community. They are where people come together, even briefly, to share in something larger than themselves. The lights in the studio dimmed as the crew began breaking down the set for the day. But the impact of what had happened that morning would continue to reverberate far beyond those walls, far beyond that moment, far beyond anything anyone could have anticipated when Meghan Markle first walked onto that stage.